you doing, guys? This is Hybridsteel. Thank you very much for coming by. Today we're going to be looking at Hydroneer 1.2, which seems like a really long time ago, and it was 2 years ago this game came out. And I'm going to revisit these because I want to show you the evolution of the game and what we had to deal with back then to what we have today. When people go, oh, the game's broken, if you played this game in 1.2, you would never pick up Hydroneer again. There was like the select few people like me with, I'd say, patience, but I'm not a very patient person. Basically, for people who were determined to make this game work, and with people like myself and Mike's PC 1080p and a few other people, the game got better with testing and so on and so forth, which is why I do what I do to this day. So, I'm going to go through the evolutionary steps of what we did, what I did to get to 100 ram drills. Now, that doesn't sound impressive, but when the game used to cap out at like 40, and the lag used to take over, and everything used to break because filters didn't work, that was a feat of achievement. It really was. I think I was the first person to do it because I was Twitch streaming at the time, and at that time nobody else had done that big of a build. So I take pride in this because it was a lot of perseverance. So here we go. Right, here we go. So what happens in Hydroneer when you have just way too much time on your hands at certain points in life? You build something of this. Oh, I remember the wall. I dubbed this the wall because it's 50 ram drills and it's just in one big glass wall. The reason why all the glass was there is to stop things coming off the conveyor belts, because back then harvesters used to just spit everywhere. Guys, 70,000 Hydra coin in this game. 6 hours of work. 6 hours. I can do that in less than 6 hours now. That's how good this is now compared to that. 6 hours. Everything on that is manual. There's no cheats. There's no creative mode. There's no magic wands. Everything is hand placed, especially those bloody filters. Going backwards and forwards to shops, building this monstrosity to be able to perform how much you can maximally earn in just 5 minutes. 5-minute test, and it was brutal. Look how the ram drills are placed. Look at them. A ram drill had to be boxed, so all of the resources tried to get into the harvester. The harvester used to be like this little circle, and dirt used to clump up on the sides every single time before the lag takes over. Hence the giant boulders down here. All of this is like stuff that got stuck in harvesters all the time. This was a labour of love, because I've got to be honest, I wasn't getting paid to do this. This is just me being a moron, doing a social experiment, and seeing if it is possible to earn more than enough money in just 5 minutes, so you are happy with the haul that you're going to produce that's going to take you nearly 25 minutes to clean up. That was the other thing, clean up. So we're sort of lucky now that the physics in the game work a damn sight better. Cleaning up after doing just like 50 ram drills like this was a painstaking problem. And I really do mean that. Let's put it this way. Cleaning up after this was just a pain in the ass. See? Even back then I knew it was a pain in the ass. But was it worth it? Find out in this video as we run through the wall of the monstrosity. The wall of the monstrosity. Yeah, English does not go past me very well. So I'm just going to fast forward through a little bit. Now, please note that there is no way of changing the daytime in this game. I mean, yeah, you could go to sleep and you wake up in the day, but when you were doing stuff, that was it. Notice above my head, all that gold just laying all over the floor. That's runoff. We don't have runoff in this game anymore. Runoff sucks. You have to sit there with the bloody magnet or something just picking it all up. It was horrific. Down into whatever comes out of it. That's why there's a furnace in the corner. And then what I'm going to do is... Oh, that was the other thing. Yeah, let's go back a couple there. There. Do you know why that gold is laying on the floor? Because sometimes the sorters didn't sort properly. So it just flung stuff out all over the place. We were blessed. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how much money this made within the 5-minute segment. Okay, I just got to show you this, right? Back on 1.2, there was no such thing as a smelter. There was no such thing as anything that really worked properly. We bodged everything to make things work. I even had a guide on how to make this sorting plant because it didn't work. Alright, so basically underneath all that tin, because it's all boxed in, is a funnel, which is that thing that's right in front of you. This thing here is a funnel, right? Looks a little bit different, doesn't it? Well, this thing worked sometimes. Now, what you would do is you would funnel it down into a crucible that used to sit on a furnace. We didn't have smelters. This is how we had to make the game work. And all this tin down the side, because things used to fall straight through and then bounce off the edges and fall out everywhere. Hence why you can see all this stuff all over the floor. That was just trying to keep as much in there as possible. It was horrendous.
Made within the 5-minute segment. Okay, so everything that's on the conveyor belts, everything that's all dripped over here.
Oh yeah, see this black thing up in the sky? That's one of my smelters. Or not smelters, that's a crucible. It just took off randomly and then got stuck in the scenery.
This is all going into these pots. All of this stuff all over the floor, I'm going to collect up. All the stuff that's on the conveyor belts, I'm going to pick up. And we're just going to make sure that this thing is actually...
So notice that all of the tin that is all around everything. So on top of these tin bits here is a funnel that sits over top of a harvester. Right, that's why all this thing is all tinned up. We're just trying to keep as much resources in there so it was easier to clean.
Viable financially. If you guys like this video, it's all good. Let me know down in the comment section below your builds. I'd love to hear your thoughts of how you're building, what you're doing, and so on and so forth. And I'll get into cleaning right now. So as I went through all of the cleaning process, I came to realize that there were a couple of things missing off this build.
Right, yes, this is how we had to clean up our belts. None of this, oh, just one piece got stuck. Everything got stuck. These harvesters used to spit everywhere, which is why there's glass in front of everything. It used to get caught everywhere as well. It was painful.
Easier on little old me. Firstly, make sure you put metal things up the sides of your conveyor belt.
Yes, so back then we had to make sure... So all up the sides of these conveyor belts right here are like little sheets of metal to try and keep things in the belts. We didn't have centralizers. We didn't have special belts. The physics were a little bit broken. Everything didn't work. We just tried to make it work.
Even if you're putting them against the brick, because this thing still happens. You still get the odd nugget.
See? Little bits of nugget just stuck on the side. Horrendous. Oh yeah, there you go. Now you're just about to see how we used to smelt stuff.
Alright, so this is the first crucible. This is the one that was made up of all of the stuff that was spilt over the edges, in the conveyor belt, between the...
Look at that mess. Look at it all. All that crap just laying on the floor is all the stuff that didn't make it into a crucible. It just fell off the belts. Because we didn't have a way of keeping stuff centered, it just fell off. And then we spent ages and ages and ages picking stuff up. This is what I keep saying when, like... People who never played the original versions of this game and they came in at about 1.3, 1.4, the game was fixed-ish by then. It never had as many problems. And then from 1.3 to about 1.7.4 before the big 2.0 update, it almost felt like you were being cuddled. I mean, Hydroneer, after 1.4, it felt like a walk in the park compared to this nightmare. And this was every day on Hydroneer. This was every day. You'd have reports constantly. Oh, this is falling off the belt. This is still broken. And because Max was a one-man band and he didn't have the help that he does now, he did his best to try and fix it. The only way that we as players were fixing things was to literally put more metal stuff up against the sides and just try and make it work. Yeah. So... 50 ram drills, if you see all that gold just sitting on top of the sorters, that's because it used to jet itself out of each sorter and then just fling everywhere. Hence why there was bits all over the floor. We had to try and control it. Things would get stuck in this corner next to the pole. It was nightmarish. That's all I can really say.
To a point where the game basically broke down to about 3, maybe 1 frames per second.
To a 3 to 1 frames per second on a 50 ram drill build. 50. Just 50. Flat out broke this game.
It was just unplayable.
Look at my builds now.
That's why the video got cut so badly, because it was just, well, pointless. So, I went back to the drawing board. Me looking around on YouTube basically means consistently looking around for Hydroneer videos of other people that have
I still do this to this day. I still look at other people's Hydroneer builds because someone might have a better idea. And check out this. Hybridsteel top 5 tips for beginner guide, 280 views 3 weeks ago. This was in 2015. Hey, there it is. Yeah. 2 years ago, we published that video, and it's the top 5 tips for Hydroneers, 4.3 thousand. But this one just did so much better, 39k. And I sat there and I found this bloke called Mike's PC 1080p. So Mike's PC 1080p, I'm not sure if is he still around. I started watching him because he was playing Hydroneer, and then I was playing Hydroneer at the same time. He did some really good builds. I did some, like, I didn't copy him directly, but I copied some of the way he used to lay out pipework because it was better than what I was doing. And then all of a sudden his channel got wiped, and then he turned into like this. He got hacked, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. And I can't remember if this guy's still going. Someone please let me know in the comment section. I'd love to see what he's actually up to now, but I felt really sorry for him. I mean, he was at 14,000 subscribers when I recorded this, and this is 2 years ago. And then he got hacked, and that was it. And it was like, oh, dude, that just sucked.
Now, Patty.
So you remember the wall of monstrosity? This was the evolution.
I folded the machine in half.
So basically, I took 50 ram drills and then collapsed it all in half, so it all filtered onto like 2 conveyor belts in the middle. This was before pressure gate. This was before pressure was a decent thing. In fairness, I didn't really think put all of these in, like, because we had to do everything manually. Like, putting this together was just a nightmare in itself. But I never really thought about putting pressure tanks on the back because you would have to have so many. I mean, we had to use 4 pressure tanks to boost to 100%. So every single one of these drills would have had to have 4 pressure tanks on the back. So I would have had to have like 100 pressure tanks just for this build alone. The old build. So the reason why we had these metal sheets in front of the drills was because nothing worked properly. So dirt wouldn't just fall to the floor, it would just spit straight out. And it would be like, yep, here we go.
I'm going to be doing this.
So again, look at how much tin is being used on this build. We didn't have other building materials for building stuff. So what we have here is we have a ram drill, or lots of ram drills, firing into a box that fires into a harvester, and the harvester has a custom funnel on it to try and get all the dirt into one place. That's what we mean by we had to try to get the dirt into one place.
2 hours is I'm actually going to be watching Ready Player One at the same time as fixing all these machines.
Oh, the other reason why I've got so many repair kits is because filters didn't work properly. We didn't know this until all of a sudden you got 4 back then it was 4 filters on your line, because it was 25% per, and then yeah, 4 filters on your line, and that was 100% worth of protection for absolutely nothing. Everything broke even when water was filtered. That is a truck full of spanners because that's what we had to do. Filters didn't work. They didn't just shut water off. They didn't do anything. They were glorified pipes with bits on them that did naff all. We had to fix everything by hand, and it was horrific. Oh yeah, you get this is where you get to see how the how our custom funnels work.
We're actually clumping up anywhere whatsoever. Now, obviously with clumps you need the magic wand.
Right. As you can see, funnels didn't work properly either, so we had to try and customize our own. There was a guy in the Discord called Rufus, and what we had to do is, by his instruction, was take 4 pieces of iron sheet and stick it into the harvester to try and get the dirt in the middle. Notice those words, to try. Yeah? Try. And we had to use a magnet to try and get all the stuff back in. See? And people complain when the harvester gets clogged nowadays. This is what we had to deal with. So because we didn't have a gem compressor, right, everything else could be smelted apart from gems. So what was happening is we had pans of gems that would basically lag your game. Like, you didn't even have to pick them up. The game lagged. And the problem with it is when the when the gems were too close to your build, that in itself would actually cause lag. So what we had to do as early Hydroneers, we had to take pans of gems and move them as far away from our build as possible, or even sell them before we could carry on, because that was how broken the game was back then. All these people will go, the game's not that bad. You never played the early versions. I envy you for not knowing about all this.
And now we're into the game.
There you go, way another giant lump of dirt not harvesting properly. The last thing, as you can see by the size of this build, I mean, that looks pretty beefy. I mean, for an early version of the game, this was a good build. This worked, minus the giant nuggets and stuff all down the sides, because that was horrendous. But everything here, this is why I take pride in building, because when you're up to this point in early version of the game, it's a little bit like, it's bigger. Because I did this over about a week and a half of just messing around with the game. Like, I'd expanded the build so much, and the lag was getting ridiculous, and it was getting silly.
And as you know, I built my Goliath setup over in there, and it's
Oh yeah, Goliaths, they're all downstairs. Yeah.
all underground, and it works
We didn't have Davids.
fairly well. Now, I have been sort of messing.
Pit of gold! Look how chunky that gold is. Look at how big those nuggets are. They're like massive heads. They were giant. So people kept asking me how I did this, and it took a lot of stupid time. Basically, I bored down through the earth and put the walls in, so it made a perfect rectangle. Got to the bottom, there's actually a crucible set underneath there that basically melts all the stuff. The problem with it is, because there's so much in there, it lagged. So what I would do is I'd drop another load in there, pause the game, save the game, log out and log back in, and it would reset that layer. And then as I'm going, that layer's getting higher and higher and higher and higher. But the amount of times I had to reset, it just became one big solid block of gold. So when I actually sorted that out, it took so long because it would all just set in place. And it took me hours. And I think the video was only like 15 minutes long, but it took me hours to empty it.
This drills.
Yeah, the first 100 round drill build. And look at how much crap there is laying around this place. Like, look how many tanks of like pressure there is. I've got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 tanks in this screen alone running this build.
Now, this is a pain in the arse. I'm slaughter cheating just a little bit.
And this bit here, I developed, because I used to have that build that wrapped around here, and this was like the end part of it all. I turned this into breaking down chunks of dirt bolt. So I would literally just put a chunk of dirt on it, and we'd break it down and put it through a sorting plant. That's all that was used for. Oh, right. So this was when I liked it. Mods like these giant crucibles were amazing. Giant pans, amazing. One of the mods I talk about in this video was a mod that we were able to change the durability of the drills and the harvesters. Because the filters didn't work, we had to actually modify the mod itself so our drills lasted longer. So we didn't have to keep repairing them. Because the filters didn't work, it would kill everything very, very quickly.
Like the giant, right?
Oh, there we go. So that's 100 round drills firing into 2 funnels to try and get all the stuff into the harvester, whilst using the modified harvester, which was the tin sheet. We had to do all this just to try and make money.
Jesus.
So you're seeing the evolution of a sorting plant as well, right? We're putting tin roofs around the holes in the sorters because everything used to fling everywhere. Like, look at all this. Like, this is all the stuff that used to just collect on the roof. This is all the stuff that used to just collect out. So there you go. We're still having trouble. Gold is going through the sorter way too fast. It just flies out the other end. This next bit shows the lag in the game.
Belts carry on. That's all you can hear is just chat.
So as you can see here, right, look, this line here, which has got a couple of crystals in it and a couple of bits and pieces, the lag used to affect the sorters, that things used to just build up at the sorter, and then it used to get flung through, which is why things never made it into the sorter. These bits around here, it used to gather up at the bottom of the belts and used to just fall off, and you just saw waves of stuff.
So that's how much these are produced.
Look at it.
It's just a stupid amount.
It's all getting stuck there. Look at it. Ready?
So
and
that's the end of that amount. So now we're back to semi-normal because there's no.
Look at the mess. This is why Hydroneer. When I remember when people ask me, "Oh, why do you do certain things?" It's like to stop things falling off belts. Well, that's never happened. You weren't. I was born there. I was moulded by Hydroneer early version because it was a painstaking operation to do this. But I love the game and I love the fact the game's evolved. But going back to this now and it's like, oh my god.
Processed.
Look at the mess. So this is what we had to deal with harvesters. Or not harvesters, sorters. Nowadays we get this cushy little system where it sort of just piles across and it goes off and it drips in and it's all good and it's lovely. This was a sorter at full whack. There's loads of it going in. And the reason why I put the window in here is so I could actually see it all going in, because when it was just metal sheety I couldn't see what was going on. So that's so much gold. And don't forget, we didn't have smelters, we didn't have all the cushy stuff. We were doing this off of like furnaces and crucibles. Furnaces and crucibles, that's all we had. And that's why when the mod came out with these giant crucibles, we were able to catch more stuff. But it was horrific. This is the last one. So I'd gone from over 2 versions of this game. I'd gone from 100 ram drills to 200, and then I was like, you know what? I want to go bigger. I want to try and fit. There was another YouTuber, or he was a Twitch streamer called Higgs Boson Matt. I still talk to him to this day. Solid fella. He's a decent guy, and we were both looking at doing the same thing, but he was looking at doing his like manually. I think he said it took him 21 days. Like live streams, he did 21 days of live streams, not fully like a whole 21 days, but he did it manually, no mods, no nothing, and he built this sort of setup, but without mods, which is ridiculous. So this is the funnel.
And when I decided to go bigger, I meant from the ground up. That down there.
So South Hope was only 12 blocks deep. Now it is the same as all the others, so it's like 20 odd. You know, that's the depth that everyone is. And the funnel basically goes, this is all conveyor belts that fit into certain harvesters. This whole funnel holds about 900 ram drills or something like that.
Now, you're probably asking yourself...
Not ram drills, Goliath.
You've seen the thumbnail, you already know. But up here is 810 Goliath drills.
810, there you go. And this was when we didn't have Davids. So we had to mod dirt into the drill so we could get it up this high.
Now, I'm using mods.
This was the lag for it. This is how impressive the inside is. All this was handcrafted.
You know, it does take a little bit of time to run this much. Well, with very.
So at this point, there was a mod that came out. It was called a better harvester, and it would make the top of the harvester wider, so you could actually get big chunks down into it instead of doing what we had before.
On my part, because this is about it. The thing is like I always get told by people, if you use less conveyor belts, you won't get as much lag.
Love that, because it's true. If you use less conveyor belts, you do get less lag, unless you build something this big and then everything lags and it doesn't matter anymore.
You're always going to be looking at lag.
Yep.
Always. It's never ever going to go away. Okay, so on the last run we took off our deletion mod and let some gems fall out.
So we had a mod that looked like a normal funnel. It was called a deletion mod, and basically I was just getting rid of gems. Again, we didn't have compressors at this point. We had just single gems
because we need gems. Because then we have to build our ring. Well, not our necklace.
But look, smelters, 1.4. That was the first time we had a smelter, and this workbench came in, and it was like, oh my god, the game, it's getting better. Oh, big chungus, look at that. So yeah, this was like this would I say would be the evolution of, look how big that is. Like, that was how big I was running. And then Higgs Boson Matt did that without mods. Alright? So he built the whole thing system with his bare hands. He built the funnel with his bare hands. He even put like Davids, when they came into the game, into the thing with his bare hands. He did the whole thing on his own.
That is the downside to like where I've built this, but on the plus side, it proved that it worked. That's about as much as I can really.
Ridiculous. So I hope going back in time and seeing some of these and how things used to work, and I know this is going to sound, well, sort of like stuck up a bit, but I hope you sort of appreciate how the game works now, instead of criticizing that something might be broken. We were playing a game when everything was broken. Like, you couldn't even play the game without the game being broken. Everything broke. I hope this basically, I hope you're more aware of where I come from and like how I've had to adapt gameplay over the years to watch this game evolve and to get to where it is to this day, and all the crap that me and some of the earlier YouTubers that played this went through just to make things work. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know, and I'll try and cut this down a bit, but it might be a long one. But thank you very much for kicking by. This has been Hybridsteel. If you have enjoyed this video, let me know down below, and I'll see you in another one. I'll say peace out, have fun, enjoy everything you guys do. Boom, fist bump to you.